What's up, Diablo 4 players? So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, but I want to go ahead and go over what are the top 3 builds, my recommendations for you to play in Season 7, even if you're just starting out right now. The one that I got to start off with is this Cataclysm Druid build that everyone's been playing. So basically, you can pretty much have a walking simulator experience. If that's what you're looking for, this is probably one of the most powerful builds you will ever see across the history of Diablo. Now, it is taking some nerfs in Season 8, however, there is a way to kind of still get it up and running. However, it's up in the air what actually is getting nerfed in Season 8, but for sure it is getting nerfed in one of the rune words. Now, just as a heads up, if you do not happen to have the expansion, this build will not function, but I'm telling you guys, this is one of the top tier builds ever to come out. And I want to go ahead and kind of explain briefly how it kind of plays. So, pretty much what it comes down to for the build is you want to activate Cataclysm and never make it drop. It does require you to learn a technique called snapshotting, which is where you are actually timing a activation, but once you time it once, you never need to time it again as long as your Cataclysm skill does not actually fall off. There's actually another huge benefit to this build, which is that you do not need any of the Mythic uniques because they simply just don't fit in. You can, however, squeeze in Shroud of False Death if you really want to min-max, but for the most part, everyone is going to be able to play this at near a top level even without that item, and you still get a lot of good stuff with this build in terms of just the gearing process because it's relatively easy compared to some other builds that require, let's say, like 2 mythics. But this is one of the highest recommendations for anyone to play if you want to feel extra powerful. And I'm not going to make this video a dedicated build guide. I will have those all in the pinned or link in the bio. They are already there for you. But I get asked all the time, Slater, what was like the most fun and the best builds in Season 7? Because maybe you're finished with one class, or maybe you're just starting out with Diablo and you're wondering, is it a good time to jump in now? The answer pretty much with Diablo is, if you're just hopping in, you need to do these things called Renown anyways, and this build, it'll just be a walking simulator. Like I said, you can literally walk and everything just gets deleted along the path. Very beginner friendly once you learn the snapshot technique, but again, this one will require you to have the expansion because without the runes, this build doesn't do nearly as much damage. But that's kind of the truth with most builds. You'll always get a benefit off of having the expansion, but you can definitely get away with others a lot easier. But if you like the playstyle, by the way, of a chill playstyle, this is going to be where I kind of give you guys the rundown in terms of how it actually plays for the gameplay sake. So pretty much what you're doing is you're activating Cataclysm and you just walk. There's a couple other skills that you can activate if you want to get extra damage, extra bonuses, but for the most part, the process is you activate the buffs and you go and you kind of just play loot collection simulator. It's probably one build that almost can never exist in Diablo again, because the reason why is it's so powerful because you're not really engaging in the mechanics of like pushing buttons other than you push the button and you go. If you like that Righteous Fire playstyle, if you've ever played Path of Exile and you like that kind of easy automation, I would say this is kind of a go-to build. So again, that is going to be the Cataclysm Druid. This is going to be the no mythic easy version. I do have another version of the build, but for the most part, this is what you want to lock in and play. Now, the next one I want to go ahead and show off will actually work in Season 8. It's actually one of the stronger builds in Season 8 that isn't based around boss power. This was like the Mega Uber Duriel. This is on Torment 4. This version of the build is so much easier to play. I've gotten lots of feedback telling me that you guys really enjoyed this build because the regular Bloodwave build has all these hurdles to jump over. You kind of need to activate this, get the shadow damage, consume the corpses. I made a super easy version. There is also the version where it's basically all about getting the min-maxing, but you can do all content in the game. You can do pit 100, you can level up everything in the entire game with literally one button. It is kind of like a super blast. So the main focus in on this build is you're going to push Bloodwave because it's the only skill in your bar, but it kind of gets rid of all of the annoyances of, again, consuming corpses because everything is going to be kind of automated for the buffs. What you do have to do with this build, though, is you do need to get a decent amount of cooldown reduction in the build, obviously because there's only one skill and it's the ultimate skill. However, there are these little blood orbs that you can pick up. So your goal with this in terms of your playstyle is it's not what I would consider a super chill build, but it's a super like kind of satisfying build where you get to walk, and since you have these rune words, it's going to group up all the enemies, pixel pull them all into like one area, and then you're just going to hit the button and is going to just delete everything super fast. Basically it one-shots everything in the game, including the tormented bosses if you want to farm the mythics. Yeah, this build can do it. You can see I'm kind of just walking around because you want to group up all the enemies, push the blood wave once, and then you'll see billions or trillions of damage. And yeah, very great build. Now I do have to tell you guys, again, you do need heavy cooldown reduction, so if you maybe want a more chill build, I'd recommend the Druid one, because this one, you do need to pay attention to the enemies, and you kind of want to run around, kind of start a train. If any of you guys have played MMOs back in the day where you would attack like a monster and you just kind of make it chase you, think of it kind of like that for playstyle. You kind of run around, you have a bunch of monsters chase you. Once you get this group up, and it's going to automatically pull things in. You don't have to push any buttons for that, which is awesome. So again, it's a relatively smooth playstyle. I'll try to give you guys recommendations that are like the smoothest playstyles, and there's not a lot of clunky hurdles to jump over. But yeah, this one is one that I can highly recommend for players that want that satisfying big punch. Now, in Season 8, there's nerfs all across the board in terms of the ultimates, but this one isn't nerfed so hard to the point where like, I would say that it's like kind of off the menu. The Druid one, it's going to be off the menu for some people because it's really annoying, but we'll wait until Season 8 comes out to officially mention these changes, because they could actually nerf the other way to get the 100% overpower, which they are trying to stop, which is weird because well, this build as well actually revolves around overpower. It's kind of like a crit of a crit. But pretty much once you get the build up and running, and you can get it up and running super early on, the Harlequin Crest Helmet is not actually required for the build. So if you're like, I want to play this build, but I don't have the mythics, can you play it? Absolutely. However, the Harlequin will make it even smoother for your playstyle. You can also get this aspect. What it is, it's called Fast Blood. And when you pick up these little blood orbs after you activate your blood wave, it's going to reduce the cooldown. If you don't reach the threshold early on, my recommendation is to put it in your amulet, because your amulet has a 50% bonus on the stats. So you're going to get a lot more cooldown reduction. I don't even have like the perfect roll one. It's really hard to get this aspect to be perfect, just like any aspect in Diablo. But yeah, this build, definitely great. But again, you need to get these cooldown numbers ready. Just keep that in mind, that don't expect to, spam the skill again. You spam it, you wait a while, you walk around, group the enemies, and then you spam it again, and then it deletes everything. But yeah, really cool. This is I call it the best one button Necro build. It is super easy to play. And then my final recommendation is actually my personal favorite in terms of how much fun. And I know fun is kind of a subjective thing when it comes to any video games, but I really like this power fantasy of the Barbarian. So it is all based around Earthquake and Hammer of the Ancients, but I really wanted to focus in on Leap to spawn in the Earthquakes. So there's several different ways to play Barbarian this season, and usually it's all about Earthquakes, whether you want to play HOTA or the Whirlwind variant or the Leap variant. The Leap variant for me personally was the most exciting, and so if you want the most, I don't know, fun is I guess the best way to put it. What you're doing with this build is you're jumping, you land, and then an earthquake spawns. You can also just block. If you want to throw the Bach rune, you can do that. You can run any skill with a cooldown, and then it'll start spawning these earthquakes. And then what you can do, you can activate your Hammer of the Ancients like I did right there, and it pops all the earthquakes that you spawned in. Now, you can easily do pit 100 with this. However, this build is the one I would really recommend you guys to try now, because this one for sure doesn't really function in Season 8 because the damage numbers just simply aren't there at the moment. But if they do change it, which hopefully they will, because I had so much fun with this build, it is really cool because you're also able to jump through gaps. I would say, as far as if you're wondering which build is the fastest, I don't really feel like there's anything in the entire game that can really top like the Cataclysm, because you just basically walk. But as far as it goes, it is fast in the sense where you get to leap across certain like terrains, like if there's like a gap or like you normally you'd have to like ride the rope or something. This build kind of gets around it because it's just going through it, because you just jump. But yeah, I like this build the most out of all of the builds this season in terms of like fun. But yeah, these are the top 3 recommendations. So it's going to be the quick little recap. We got the Cataclysm Druid, then we've got the Blood Wave, the one button version. If you want to play the other version, I also have to upload it, but like it gets rid of all the clunkiness by just having it one button, so you can't like mess up because the way the Necro one works is you have to activate your overpower at certain like intervals. But with the Barbarian one, it's kind of just spam all the buttons. You just jump and you spawn earthquakes, and then when you want to, you get this giant payload because you get to slam on the ground and it pops on. Super fun. Anyways, those are the top 3 builds that I'm going to be recommending you guys for Season 7 and kind of in the future. The Barb one is kind of off that menu, but the other 2, there are ways to go ahead and play them. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, hit the bell if you guys want to see more, and I'll catch you, Diablo gamers, in the next video. Peace out.